Am I the antagonist for sleeping with someone at my best friend's birthday party that I threw for her at my house? I, a 20-year-old female, decided to throw a surprise party for my best friend's 20th birthday at my house. I decorated my house extravagantly, had a custom red velvet cake made, her favorite dessert, and ordered all of her favorite food. It was a relatively small gathering with a few close friends, and we had a great time eating, partying, and indulging in some questionable activities. The party started at around 5 p.m. and lasted until 2 a.m. There were only a total of 7 people who came to celebrate, and by midnight, it was down to just 4 of us. My best friend, myself, and our 2 other close friends, whom I'll refer to as Amy and John, both 20F and 21M respectively. Earlier in the night, Amy and John decided to take Molly. Personally, I don't engage in that kind of behavior, although I do drink and smoke. However, since they were planning to spend the night, I told them they were welcome to do as they please. By about 1 a.m., everyone was exhausted. Both my best friend and I were decently intoxicated. We had already had the typical end-of-the-night conversation where we acknowledged that it's getting late. We had pretty much exhausted ourselves with the party. At almost 1:30 a.m., I received a text from someone I'm involved with, asking if he could come over for intimate purposes. Once I read the message, I immediately informed my best friend and asked her, "Hey, the guy I've been seeing wants to come over, and I think he wants to sleep with me tonight. Do you mind if I invite him over since it's the end of the night?" She gave me a look and responded with whatever. Feeling confused, I asked, "Well, is it a yes or no? I won't invite him if you don't want me to." "It's fine. My name. It's whatever," she replied. I interpreted this as an approval. He came over and we hung out for a bit before heading to my room to call it a night. He left the next morning without getting a chance to meet anyone properly. Everything seemed fine that morning. Amy and John made breakfast while my best friend went to work. Weeks later, at another party, my best friend decided to publicly shame me in front of a group of people, expressing disgust over the fact that I had slept with someone during her birthday. She didn't reach out to me privately, nor did she bring it up during the numerous times we hung out after her birthday. It wasn't until that night in front of people we were barely acquainted with that she chose to address it. We are no longer friends for various other reasons, but this incident has been weighing heavily on my mind. So I must ask, am I the one at fault here? You had thrown a surprise party for your best friend's birthday, putting in a lot of effort to make it special. You made sure to have her favorite food, cake, and decorations. Throughout the night, everyone had a good time and it was agreed upon that the party was coming to an end. You received a text from someone you've been seeing, asking if they could come over, and you asked your best friend if it was okay. She responded with whatever and you took that as permission to invite him over. It was not clear from her response that she had any issue with you inviting him over, and she did not mention it afterwards during the weeks you hung out together. It was only at a later party in front of a group of people that she decided to publicly shame you for sleeping with someone on her birthday. The fact that she never discussed it with you privately or expressed her discontent afterwards suggests that she may have been holding a grudge and chose to embarrass you publicly instead of having a mature conversation about her feelings. It is important to communicate openly and honestly with friends, especially when it comes to boundaries and expectations. However, based on the information given, it does not seem like you intentionally did anything wrong or malicious during the surprise party. Therefore, you are not the asshole in this situation. Am I the antagonist for telling my mother-in-law she can no longer have contact with my son? I am a single mom of 4 children, Arden 13, Bryony 11, Robin 10, and Kaya 7. All of us, except for Robin, are deaf and use American Sign Language, ASL, as our first language. Arden and Bryony's father left when they were 4 and 2 years old, respectively. Shortly after, I met Kaya's father, Alex. Alex had recently gained custody of his nephew, Robin. Robin's biological mother, Layla, chose to focus on recovering from her drug addiction and gave up custody of Robin. Robin considers Alex to be his dad and has called me his mom since he was around 2 or 3 years old. Layla has expressed her gratitude for my role and feels more like Robin's aunt than his mom. When Alex was diagnosed with cancer 2 years ago, it was clear to all of us that I would continue to raise Robin as my son after Alex's passing. Alex passed away in June, and since then his mother-in-law, has been causing problems. Although she has never been openly hostile, she frequently complains about our use of ASL. Most of the family learned some basic ASL to support communication, but mother-in-law insisted she was too old to learn. She has made comments in the past about my mothering abilities due to my deafness. Mother-in-law tends to ignore my older daughters and focuses solely on Robin, often forgetting that Kaya is also her grandchild. During the funeral, mother-in-law spent a lot of time telling people that I was unfit and trying to take Robin away from his real family. It was incredibly hurtful, and it made me uncomfortable having mother-in-law in my home afterward. However, I convinced myself that it was for the benefit of the children who had just lost their father. I didn't want to take away another grandparent from them. Last Saturday, Robin returned from an outing with mother-in-law looking very upset. He refused to talk about what had happened and locked himself in his room for the rest of the weekend. I tried contacting mother-in-law to find out what was going on, but she didn't respond to any of my messages. Eventually, Robin broke down in tears and asked if Grandma was really going to take him away. It turns out that mother-in-law had been repeatedly telling Robin that she would take him away from us, and even threatened to call Child Protective Services, CPS, to have the children removed. On Saturday, mother-in-law went even further and said she could drive away with him, and he would never have to see us again. I immediately sent mother-in-law a message informing her that she is no longer welcome in my home or near any of the children. I also let Layla know about the situation and reassured her that she is still welcome to visit or have Robin stay with her, but only if mother-in-law is not present. Since then, my phone has been bombarded with messages from people asking me to reconsider. I have not disclosed what happened, so I can only assume that mother-in-law is spreading false information. The negative responses have made me question if I am doing the right thing. You are absolutely justified in cutting off contact with your late partner's mother. She has repeatedly disrespected your family, made hurtful comments about your deafness, and now she is actively causing emotional distress to your son by threatening to take him away. Your priority is to protect your children and provide a safe and loving environment for them. It's important to set boundaries and remove toxic people from your lives, even if they are family. Trust your instincts and continue to prioritize the well-being of your children. Am I the antagonist for telling my mother she didn't have to come wedding dress shopping with me? I'm a 30-year-old female who is engaged to my 37-year-old fiancé. Both of us are close to our families. My fiancé's mother has 3 sons and no daughters. During her other son's wedding, she was not included in any part of the wedding planning. She never complained or expressed her feelings but would have enjoyed being involved. This weekend I am going to pick out my wedding dress. I was really excited about it, and while we were at my in-laws' home on Saturday, I talked to my fiancé's mother about it. I told her that it would mean a lot to me if she came with me, and she agreed with tears in her eyes. I was thrilled to share this moment with my family and my fiancé's mother, who is very important to him. On Sunday, I spoke to my mother about the upcoming dress shopping excitement. I mentioned that I am bringing my mother, grandmother, sister, godmother, stepmother, and mother-in-law. My mother asked why I was bringing my mother-in-law, and I explained that I wanted her to be a part of the moment and start making memories together, since we will be family. My mother expressed her disagreement, feeling that it would take away from a special moment between her and me. I assured her that it wouldn't happen. We argued back and forth, and this is where I might have made a mistake. I told my mother that if something as petty as this is going to ruin her day or mine, then she doesn't have to come. She questioned who would help me get dressed and share those intimate moments with me. I replied that any other female figure in my life who is attending will do just fine. She got upset, and I immediately regretted my words. I tried apologizing, but she hasn't responded. So, am I the asshole? You are not wrong for inviting your future mother-in-law to go dress shopping with you. It shows that you want to include her in your special moments and build a relationship with her. It's understandable that your mother may have felt a bit hurt or jealous, but her reaction of trying to exclude your future mother-in-law was not fair. Your comment about any other female figure in your life being able to help you get dressed may have been a bit harsh, but it seems like it was said out of frustration during the argument. It's good that you recognized your mistake and tried to apologize. Your mother's decision to not attend the dress shopping is her choice, but it's unfortunate that she called your father to complain about it. That was unnecessary and only served to escalate the situation. It's understandable that you wanted to switch boutiques to avoid any potential drama on the day. Overall, you were trying to include and bond with your future family, which is a positive gesture. Your mother's reaction and attempt to exclude your future mother-in-law were not justified. Am I the antagonist for telling my sister her childhood is the reason she's not always included in things? I am an 18-year-old female. My older sister is 26. We are half-sisters, sharing the same dad. We are our dad's only children. Our dad and her mom were once married, and when they divorced, my sister lived with her mom for 99% of the time. She grew up 4 hours away from us, and I only saw her for 1 week out of the year during my childhood. However, she did attend some holidays with our dad's side of the family. After she graduated from high school 9 years ago, she started living with our dad, and that's when we began building our relationship. Since my mom and dad live in the same city, I've always split my time equally between them. We have an aunt and uncle on our side that I practically grew up with. From the age of 6, I have spent my summers with them out of state, and this continued until this year. They also have a son who is 2 years apart from me. They had tried to have my sister join us for summers when she was a child, but for some reason, it didn't work out. However, over the past 9 years, my sister has been around enough to form a bond, just like I have been my whole life. I recently graduated and had a party that our dad's side of the family attended. At the party, my uncle, our dad's brother, surprised us by booking a trip to Hawaii for me, him, his family, and my sister. I wasn't aware that my sister didn't know about it, so when our cousin brought it up at the party, she reacted surprised, and it got a little awkward. Our aunt and uncle immediately took her into a room to talk, but I didn't know what they discussed, and I didn't ask. Recently, my sister reached out to me and explained that our aunt had told her that she felt like an afterthought because they didn't get a chance to build a relationship with her when she was younger. She mentioned lost time as a reason things are the way they are between them. My sister expressed her frustration with being excluded and accused our aunt and uncle of playing favorites. She also pointed out that it's hypocritical for them to claim they wish they were closer to her while simultaneously excluding her. She believes that their actions could potentially drive a wedge between us. And as her sister, she expected me to understand her feelings. In response, I told her that this issue has nothing to do with me and that our aunt has a valid point about their lack of relationship during our sister's childhood. I also defended our aunt by saying that she was not displaying favoritism. My sister was disappointed by my perspective and argued that I was failing to see the problem. She even said that she now looks at me differently for taking sides with our aunt, despite me not actually doing so. She believes that I am not open to hearing her out and thinks it's crazy that I support someone who hurt her. It's all just unnecessary drama. So am I the asshole? It's understandable that your sister may feel hurt and excluded in this situation. However, it's important to recognize that your aunt and uncle have a different relationship with your sister due to the limited time they spent with her when she was younger. Their actions may have been unintentional, and it seems like they were trying to make amends by including her more in recent years. You are not at fault for the way your aunt and uncle treated your sister in the past. It's reasonable for you to acknowledge their perspective and the impact your sister's limited upbringing with them had on their relationship. It doesn't mean that you don't care about your sister or her feelings. You can empathize with her emotions and offer support, but ultimately this issue is between your sister and your aunt. It's important for them to communicate and work on their relationship without putting unnecessary strain on your bond with your sister. Am I the antagonist for telling my wife that she will have to wait to go back to work even with our agreement? When my wife and I made the decision to have a child, we agreed that she would stay home with our son for the first 2 years, and then I would take the next 2 years until he started school. Unfortunately, our son was born with health problems, resulting in higher expenses for doctors, exams, medications, and even our health plan. Even though we both earned the same salary during my wife's maternity leave, it became clear that these healthcare costs would make it financially unfeasible for us to sustain a comfortable life with only one income. Fortunately, my promotions at work have improved our financial situation, allowing us to afford all the necessary healthcare for our son. Currently, our son is 1.5 years old, and we recently discussed our plans for the future. My wife informed me that she spoke to her employer, who agreed to rehire her under the same conditions, meaning that I would need to stay at home. However, I honestly expressed my concerns. I explained that while our initial plans involved my staying at home, our current reality is different. Relying solely on my wife's income would compromise our financial stability and prevent us from providing the same level of health care for our son. Regrettably, I cannot fulfill her desire for me to become the sole provider for our household. Daycare is not an option for us, since my wife strongly opposes it due to the negative reputation of such facilities in our country. It has always been her wish to enroll our child in school at the age of 4. She argued that our agreement was for me to stay at home and that she supported me in that role, so now it was my turn to give her that opportunity. I acknowledged her perspective but emphasized that our current circumstances do not allow for it, and she will need to wait a little longer. She became upset, feeling that I had reneged on our initial agreement and was not fully committing to something. I understand her frustration, but it is simply not feasible for me to make this change and compromise our family's financial stability. Perhaps there was a failure in our communication, but amidst our daily responsibilities and time constraints, it is challenging. Am I the asshole in this situation? Communication regarding expectations and plans surrounding childcare is crucial, especially when circumstances change unexpectedly. It appears that you have been transparent with your wife about the financial implications of her being the sole provider and the impact it would have on your son's healthcare. It is important to consider your wife's perspective as well. She may feel disappointed or hurt that you are not able to fulfill the original agreement, and it is vital to acknowledge her feelings and concerns. In this situation, it might be helpful to have a calm and open conversation about potential alternatives or compromises that can meet both your son's healthcare needs and your wife's desire to have someone stay with him until he is 4 years old. Exploring other options, such as researching different childcare options or discussing potential financial assistance, could enable you both to find a solution that satisfies both parties. Ultimately, making decisions that prioritize the best interests of your child's health and well-being should be the primary concern for both parents. Would I be the antagonist if I ask my friend why she didn't include me in her wedding party? I, a 27-year-old woman, have known my friend Kay, also 27 years old, since middle school. We have been friends for almost 15 years. She moved to another state a few years ago, and I have traveled to visit her several times. Earlier this year, she was planning a trip to visit our home state in the summer and go to different amusement parks. She wanted me to join her. I also wanted to go, but I wasn't sure if I could because I had recently started a new job and I needed to save money for my bills. This trip was supposed to happen around my birthday, so it seemed like a great opportunity for both of us if it worked out. However, I couldn't go for multiple reasons. I had already requested time off for my actual birthday, a week after her visit, and I had a doctor's appointment before she arrived, so it was difficult to ask for a third day off. She was disappointed and expressed her desire for me to go. I understood her feelings but hoped she would understand my work constraints. I suggested a compromise that if she had any free time between visiting the amusement parks, I would make the drive to hang out with them. However, she disregarded my proposal, so I made separate plans to visit the same amusement park on a different weekend, assuming it wouldn't be a significant issue. She didn't talk to me for a couple of months, including on my birthday. This was incredibly hurtful. Despite her messages becoming dry and short, I continued to reach out to her, but she didn't say much. I felt desperate. During this time, she got engaged and I wasn't aware of it. Her boyfriend did not share the plans with me, and I assumed I would be included since I thought we were best friends, and he knew about our close bond. After a couple of months, she finally messaged me and told me what had upset her, and I tried to resolve the issues. However, she didn't apologize for not acknowledging me on my birthday, which was something I wanted from her. Our friendship hasn't been the same since. I feel excluded from her life, and I expressed this to her. I feel like she has changed her opinion about me and our friendship, and I can't help but think that she let this situation go on for much longer than necessary, especially since I was constantly messaging her to get her to talk to me. It is incredibly painful that things have changed, and it feels like we haven't properly discussed or resolved these issues. We almost feel like strangers now. Recently, she posted about the people who will be in her wedding party, and I wasn't included. I'm devastated. I thought we were best friends. But it seems that I no longer hold that place in her life. Lately, I have been contemplating whether it would be a good idea to ask her why I'm not included in her wedding party. My intention isn't to be negative, I just want some answers. However, I'm also concerned that I might come across as an asshole if I were to do that. It seems like you have been trying to maintain the friendship and have reached out to her consistently, but she has not made an effort to communicate or address the issues between you. It is understandable that you feel left out and hurt by her actions. However, before approaching her about this, it may be helpful to reflect on the overall state of your friendship. Have there been any other issues or patterns of behavior that have contributed to the deterioration of your relationship? It's important to consider if you both still share the same level of closeness, and if this is just a one-off situation or part of a larger trend. If you decide to ask her about why you are not included in the wedding party, approach the conversation with empathy and understanding rather than accusatory. Let her know that you value your friendship and her happiness, but you are confused and hurt by the recent developments. Express that you would appreciate honesty and open communication to understand where things have gone wrong. Ultimately, this conversation may help provide clarity and closure, but be prepared for the possibility that her response might not be what you hope for. It is important to prioritize your own well-being and consider whether it is worth investing more energy into a friendship that may not be reciprocated. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.